Well, welcome back, everybody, to the voice of Putnam County business. I am alongside my good friend Nat Prentice, and most of you might not know this, but Nat just got back. He got his instructor's license as a podcast co-host. So if anybody has any inquiries to learn how to do a podcast, Nat is the guy to talk to. Nat, how you doing today?
I'm doing just great, Nick. And, I'm going to depart from my usual script of telling you how much I like working with you and how you are the voice of the Putnam County. You are the voice of the voice. But I just wanted to tell a story about how you came to know our honored guest today, who's called George Joyner, and I'll tell our listeners more about George. But we have a relatively new, although we used to do this in our past, networking meeting that we're doing online on a monthly basis. And we had our first one of those. It's known as Putnam Connects. And George was on and you were on. And after that meeting, you came up to Jen and me and you said, that guy, George, we have really got to have him on our podcast. So, George, let me introduce you to the rest of the world. We are fortunate today to have as our guest George Joyner, who is co-chairman, and you'll come to know what this all means, co-chairman of the Putnam County SCORE, SCORE organization. George, welcome, and tell everybody out there, if they don't already know, a little bit about SCORE.
Well, Nick, thanks so much for having me on here. I enjoyed meeting you with at the Connects networking meeting, the inaugural.
And you'll be on again this month, right, Nick?
Yes,
Nick and George.
Looking forward to it again at the last Wednesday of the month.
Yeah, that would be April 30th, coming up next Wednesday.
Perfect. Sounds like a commercial, but it but it was an excellent start and a worthwhile event to go to. Great opportunity to meet fellow business people who were all representing pretty much all the areas of Putnam and the greater Putnam area, and get to know each other, exchange notes, and do a wonderful networking experience. So I do recommend that. So again, but thank you for having me here. And this is an example of how networking works.
Yeah, 100%.
Here I am, a networked person. SCORE has been regarded by several people that I know as one of the best kept secrets in Putnam County, which fascinates me considering the number of people that we work with and have dealt with over the last 20 years since we started in Putnam County. But let me take a minute and give just a brief overview of what SCORE is, and then I'll try and narrow down a little bit to the component of SCORE, Putnam County SCORE, that would be of most interest to the people I suspect listening to this podcast.
Good.
SCORE is a 60-year-old organization. We were founded in 1964. We came into being because a couple of business people worked closely with the SBA, the Small Business Administration of the federal government. And they were concerned because the SBA's mission was to try and stimulate the growth of small businesses and business generally across the country. And they were doing it in a way that seemed a little less than optimal to these executives. They were providing resources and money, but no support. So they would fund businesses and just give them the wherewithal to start, but without any direction, guidance, and starts. Some were exceptionally capable people who did beautifully with the SBA's assistance, and some did not have the background that they really needed to run a business and didn't do as well as they might. These executives suggested to the SBA that they would be willing to volunteer their support to work with burgeoning businesses, clients of the SBA, and share with them their wisdom, their counsel that they had garnered over years of experience in the business world, and help these businesses get started and become successful. The SBA thought it was a pretty good idea, and a few pilot programs were initiated, and it did sufficiently well that the SBA asked this group of executives if they would formalize their organization and become a resource partner to the SBA. They agreed, thought it was a wonderful idea, and so SCORE was born. And now 60 years later and 17 million clients later,
Wow.
SCORE is still in business today, and helping business people with the SCORE mission of trying to promote the growth and well-being of small businesses across the country. And here we are. So that's a little bit of what SCORE is.
Does SCORE stand for anything, or is it just SCORE? SCORE.
Yes. Okay. SCORE started out as being the service corps of retired executives. S.C.O.R.E. And that was the acronym, or rather the name of SCORE, for many, many years. And then I'm guessing 10, 12 years ago, it became fairly obvious to SCORE that it did not consist of only retired executives. In fact, we had an extremely large cadre of gainfully employed, in business, non-retired business executives. And they said, gee, that doesn't apply to about a third of our mentors and staff. So they just dropped the acronym, and they dropped the periods, and it's now SCORE. End of discussion. So yes, we are SCORE, and it doesn't stand for anything.
There we go.
I would imagine with 17 million customers, business people that you're working with, you need more than just retirees to handle all that workload.
Absolutely. We do have, from an organizational standpoint, our corporate headquarters is located in Herndon, Virginia. That's just outside DC.
Yeah.
And we have, I'm guessing, around 60 full-time paid employees who do corporate things.
This is SCORE National.
This is SCORE National. And they do finance, liaison with the government, with the SBA, and with Congress. They do marketing, they do legal, they do fundraising, and all the things that you would expect of a not-for-profit, a 501(c) organization. Beyond that, SCORE has about 10,000 volunteers across the country.
Wow.
The volunteers work out of around 300, and I say around because the number fluctuates a little bit as offices change, relocate, and all, but around 300 offices and another about 400 sub-offices across the country. So we're located in every state in the United States, plus all our territories. We have no foreign affiliations, no foreign locations. I think primarily because we are a resource partner of the SBA. We are an American organization for Americans. So our reach is very, very extensive, and that's how we managed to get to that staggering number over 60 years. And even just in 1 year, in last year, I took a couple of notes. Last year, we did about 60 corporately did about 300,000 mentoring sessions.
Wow.
And they actually wound up creating about 59,000 jobs across the country.
Wow.
And we do that on a budget from the SBA of $17 million.
Yeah. This does not look like it's going to be on Elon Musk's list.
No, definitely not. I have kind of fun numbers just on a local basis. Well, on a local basis, we have a total budget, and it is, I probably shouldn't be saying it, but our total budget for an office of 18 mentors is $1,500 for the year. So if we create 15 jobs, that's about $100 a job that the government is paying, and that's a pretty good deal. And in fact, that's not too far from the truth. Last year we created about 28 jobs. The year before, about 44 jobs. And we average about creating about 30 new businesses a year. On a $1,500 to $2,000 budget, because our budget has gone sky high to $2,000 for the year, but those were in good days, the good old days.
You had the party this year.
But we do manage. We don't have much overhead, and it's really all volunteer people who they absorb the expenses that they incur by themselves. I mean, a little travel and things like that. Nobody submits mileage or anything. We just do it because we love it and we get a lot out of it.
That's fantastic. I mean, I got to ask you because of the impact that you had on some of the folks that were on the Putnam Connects networking event. People spoke so highly of you and were thanking you publicly for the work that you do with them. What does your title as co-chair entail?
As is the case in many volunteer organizations, you become executive director, chairman, president, co-chair, because you're willing to do the stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so I clean the desks and I maintain the files and stuff like that. I try, we try and act from a local basis as a conduit for information and direction to our volunteers. Basically, if somebody is looking to become mentored, they would go most likely to our website, whether it be our local or national website. Nationally, we're www.score.org, which is tricky to remember. And locally, we're www.score.org/Putnam, which is also tricky. And on the homepage, on the kind of dead center, is looking for a mentor, and you can click yes and either select a mentor whose background is what you think you're looking for, or just let us decide, and we're paired. As a co-chairman, our job is to make sure that flow is unimpeded, that we get back to our clients very expeditiously. We assign mentors to clients based on the client's request and the mentor's skills. So we do try and do a reasonable match, although we're really driven by doing what's right for the client. We don't have quotas or boundary issues. So if I discover that I thought the client was looking for funding, and it turns out, that is one of his concerns, but he really wants to know about an aerospace engineering facility.
Yeah, right.
At that point, I say, fins, timeout, pause, hold, and we have the ability to then go search our backlog or our database of available mentors and see if we can find a good match, and then put the mentor who might know about aerospace engineering in contact with the client who is interested in that subject, and pair them and let them go off and do their mentoring and business development things. So we do that, and then we, as a chair, I also try and get out as much as I can from a PR standpoint to the public. About a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I presented to the Putnam County legislature, their subcommittee on business development and energy, at which most of the legislators attended, and we gave them an overview of SCORE and what we do, and also thank them for the support that they give us. I'm here at the podcast today. I'm going to make a presentation down at the Fish Library down in Garrison next month, and the month after that down at the Hart Library down in
Shrub Oak?
Really Shrub Oak, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I try and get out and just tell people what we do, because it's a good service, and it's we find that people find it extremely helpful. And what makes it possible, we're not consultants. We don't go in and tell people how to do things. We don't tell them if it's a good idea or a bad idea. What we do is we try and work with them and point them to the resources, connect them, show them how to do, not to do it for them. And so, it's great. We can brainstorm, we can kick around ideas, and there are a lot of questions and things that come up in our mentoring sessions. We have no idea what the right answer is. There is no right answer. But you discuss alternatives, options, approaches, and that's incredibly valuable. And then we're also cheerleaders, because one of the things that I get out of mentoring is it's a tremendously great feeling to work with a client who starts a business and becomes successful. Or we also work with existing businesses. This is not all entrepreneur or startups. We work with a lot of we have worked with a lot of the large not-for-profits here in Putnam County. We work with more than a few of the significant for-profit businesses. I rattle off names, but we don't bandy around client names. We offer our clients confidentiality in our work. But you would know most of them you have come to us for various reasons, not detailed mentoring in a lot of cases, but just support or brainstorming or ideas, or do you know anybody else that has solved this problem?
We had a meeting recently at the Cold Spring Chamber of Commerce just to sort of support what George says about how much he gets around. And I was amazed how many people who attended that meeting without any pre-rehearsal that George was going to be there raised their hand to say, I've been mentored by either George or the SCORE organization generally.
Yeah, and we have, over the years, we have mentored an awful lot of the, businesses and people here in the greater Putnam area. As I say, we're not strict on boundaries, whatever is convenient for a client. And that really stems from the pre-COVID days when we actually met with people live and in person. Now it's a hoot to meet somebody live that you've been working with for the last 2 years.
Sure.
Twice a week. And all of a sudden, my goodness, you're much bigger than I thought you were.
Yeah, that sounds like it's something that would be exciting for somebody that wants to offer their mentorship. And obviously, I would assume that you have a variety of folks that volunteer that have different backgrounds of different businesses, and throughout their career, they've done all types of things.
Yeah, our cadre today, we have 18 mentors. We're pretty evenly split men and women. I think right now we have 10 men and 8 women. I think if you would ask me 8 or 9 months ago, it would have been flipped. But we're roughly 50-50 from that standpoint. The mentors range from seniority. I guess I'm the oldest guy in terms of service, and possibly chronological in the chapter. For 17 years, we have 4 or 5 who have been with SCORE less than 2 years, and the rest have been from 3 to 12, 13 years. The backgrounds, as you mentioned, are varied. We have accountants, we have CPAs, we have marketing professionals, we have people from giant corporations. We have people who have run several small successful businesses. We have IT people. We have people with legal backgrounds. We had 2 attorneys who wound up, we parted ways very amicably, only because we were bordering on giving legal advice. And it was very, very tough. Just as you get into the conversation, when you're a practicing attorney, and all of a sudden you discover that you're giving advice rather than mentoring, and the attorneys didn't feel comfortable with that, and I agree with that, and so we backed off that. We've had the president of a Fortune 500 company as one of our mentors for quite a few years. We've had senior executives, senior sales executive from a major medical equipment manufacturer. 2 people that have run very, very successful large businesses. So we have a variety of backgrounds. But what's interesting on that also is the amount of learning that the mentors do while mentoring. I'll be mentoring somebody that is owns a good sized business, and I have to learn about the business as I'm sharing my knowledge about an area of concern that the client might have. And so over a lot of years, it's amazing how much information and background and general knowledge I've acquired as being a mentor. And I guess it's the same as most consultants. You get into the businesses and you learn the businesses. And so even with the specific background, that's only a small nugget of what you can bring to the table.
George, you're the kind of person who would underplay your own background. Tell us about you and did you grow up here? What was your business career?
Okay. I had a strange business career. I was born and raised in the Bronx. That's a foreign country, but it's been annexed, and we New York City brought us into the fold. I went to Fordham Prep and Fordham College. Part of the reason for that, in addition to there being pretty good schools, was I lived within walking distance of both the prep and the college. And I walked to college until I got my driver's license, at which point in time it became much too far to walk. And I had to drive to school every day. I guess not dissimilar to most teenagers when they get their license. I graduated from Fordham and had enough of the Jesuits. I say that facetiously.
Good bunch, but tough.
Yes, well, I went from there. I got an MBA at Wharton. Served, did a 6-month tour with the Army Reserve National Guard, and stayed in there for 6 months, getting out as a sergeant first class with 2 rockers and 3 stripes, and they were disappointed when I didn't re-up. But that was sufficient for me. And I started my career working for IBM. And that was in the days where computers were pretty newfangled things.
And as big as this room.
Yeah, yes. And that was an amazing experience. I stayed with IBM for about 18 years. I learned more about business working for IBM in my first 5 years than I've learned in the rest of my life. IBM in those days started sales and systems people, and I started as a systems engineer and then went over to sales, starting us with small clients. And we had to learn the entire small clients business, which wasn't an overwhelmingly difficult task, but all of a sudden I learned the entire process of business, from getting an order to processing order to payroll to accounting for it to billing to invoicing to accounts receivable to sales analysis. All of these things we learned step by step, and it's the same thing in any business, just bigger if you get into big ones. And eventually we graduated to larger accounts if we were capable and not. And so I stayed there, had a fun career. I worked with mostly consumer goods manufacturers. I was, I guess, one of the last jobs I had, I was the international account manager for PepsiCo, responsible for the relationship of IBM to Pepsi internationally, and that was good fun. I had the opportunity to leave IBM. I got just a memorable call from a headhunter who called me up. He said, "My name is Cliff. I won't mention his last name. Could I interest you in a startup venture with about $7 billion of backing?" And I said, that was a totally unfair question. Yeah, I said, how many people say no to that opening line? And he chuckled. And what happened at that point in time was ATT had just divested themselves of the baby bells. And part of the divestiture enabled ATT to get into the computer business. And ATT went out and set up a small division called ATTIS to go out, and it has several names since then, but to start getting ATT into the computer business.
That wasn't Bell Labs or anything, was it?
No, but we worked with Bell Labs because it was Bell Labs that was going to build the computers that we were going to sell. And the most memorable thing about that is the particular group that I and about 22 other IT professionals joined. The product was the forerunner of our internet. They had a concept where they were going to put a lot of small HP computers around the ATT locations, and everybody could talk to everybody else by computer and share files and get information back and forth. And now I say, whoa, that sounds like the internet. The only problem was neither the hardware nor the software was sufficiently developed to accomplish that, but it was a lot of fun. Went from there to other jobs within ATT. I ran their branch office that was responsible for the legal profession and the consultant profession, all the accounting firms, all the major consultant houses and the legal
What a
firms,
background. My
Which
gosh,
was-
there's nothing you don't know.
which was a lot of fun. Went from there and left and went to digital.
Digital
equipment.
Equipment
Yes,
Corporation?
yes.
Does anybody remember that?
Yeah,
Probably not.
and-
Do not.
And then they became Digital HP, HP Digital, HP. And I was there and tried to put together a national account sales team. Did not succeed. There was a great rift. HP never done that kind of selling, and there were people that were in favor of it, people that were not, and that kind of ended that deal. And to kind of net things, I went from there to Nextel. I was, I think, the fourth employee for Nextel East Coast. They were a California startup company that had done very nicely. They had this great push to talk system.
That I remember.
And I joined Nextel and was hired as the director of sales and marketing for the group here. And we went from no sales to, when I left, we were about 2 million subscribers. And part of my initial job was to hire about 60 salespeople and sales managers and directors. And that was a new world to me. And it was an awful lot of fun and an awful lot of stress, but it was great. Then I had a catharsis and I said, the .com was prevalent. It was there. And I said, I'm going to become rich and famous by joining the .com revolution. And I'm going to go and get involved in .com companies.
Yeah. You picked the wrong one.
You never heard of me, so I'm not famous. And if you check my bank account, we will attest that I'm not rich. So to become rich and famous did not work exactly according to plan. I did get involved in 3 startup .coms, 2 tiny, 1 fairly large. 1 is still in existence. The other 2 disappeared as I watched it disappear around me. And then I finished my career with a very small company that provided continuing education to attorneys. But what was interesting about it and what attracted me to them was this was the first company that had approval by the Bar Association to provide continuing education on CDs. Until then, it was all live education. And so that was a wonderful business because it was the world's easiest sell. You can listen, get your 24 credits of continuing education in your car commuting to the office.
Sure.
And it's cheap, and you don't have to go at nights to the law school that you graduated from to get some credits. And every 2 years you had to renew your credits. So you had a guaranteed repeat office. From there, I retired. And but interestingly, about 2 years before I retired, my wife cut an article out of a newspaper, and she said, I think this would be interesting to you. And I read it, and it was an article about SCORE. And I said, gee, that sounds like something I could do. I did lots of consulting and consultative selling and consultative marketing. And
17 years later, here you are.
Exactly. So long story, but checkered career, and had a lot of fun. Learned a lot of stuff that I should do, and learned a lot of stuff that I shouldn't do. And that's par for the course. And hopefully I won't redo the things I shouldn't do. And hopefully I learn how to redo the things I should do.
So, I mean, I think it's probably pretty safe to say that Putnam Score, the mentors like yourself, and I'm sure others, have just a wealth of knowledge and experience that you just explained to us, which to me is fantastic, especially coming from a mentor, to a new business owner or somebody who's been in business or just has a vision of something, could really use the knowledge and experience that you have to their benefit quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a fantastic service. It really is. And the thing that's most impressive to me about it, in addition to the results that we get, is I would say 99.8% of the things we do at SCORE are free and kind of confidential. Both the mentoring, we have on our website, we have a substantial array of templates, courses, webinars, all free, all pre-recorded, and really, really helpful and useful. And they're all free. And we also will provide special services, and those would be things that we might charge for. We might run a symposium that's at a hotel, that's for hundreds of people, and we have dinner or lunch, and we charge to recover our cost on it. And sometimes we'll have a course that gives a degree, a certification, and those will be charged for.
Yeah, certainly.
But basically, our service is free and it's totally confidential.
We are fortunate to have a resource like this. When you say that?
Yeah, without a doubt. It's fantastic.
It really is. Gosh.
I think I could, well, first of all, just before we wrap up, what can the Putnam County Business Council do to help Putnam SCORE? Is it something to try to gain more mentors? Is it you're looking for, to new people that are opening up or that might need mentorship?
The things that are really helpful to us, one is we are always looking for new mentors, volunteers. We do a pretty good job of training new mentors. And if you have any business experience, you do a phenomenal amount of learning in the first year or so and are up to complete speed with the senior mentors very quickly. So yeah, we're open to mentors, to new volunteers, and we work closely with them to bring them on board. And the other thing is try and convince people that they shouldn't be embarrassed to come to SCORE. Most of the people either have a problem, a challenge, or a lack of knowledge. And that's why we're there. We like to try and plug those holes. And there's, at no time do we look down on anybody coming in because you didn't know that. That's why we exist.
Yeah.
And we welcome people, and I think most people walk away saying, hey, that was a pretty good experience. And that's what we love.
George, are you more suited to a startup business or to a business that is looking to accelerate from a level that they'd already achieved?
They're both fun. They really are. I would tell you if I did have a preference, but I don't.
You do both.
I do both very definitely. And what I don't do a lot of would be the not-for-profits. We have two mentors that have grown up in the not-for-profit space and are expert in that area. And I just haven't had enough experience in it.
Well, you got the team.
Yeah. And so, I just find, trying to help out, and my kick is solving problems. I love to be able to see if I can identify it and come up with an approach to beating it.
But George, you may not be a mentor to nonprofits, but I understand that in the community, you personally have been active with a number of nonprofits. I belong to the St. Lawrence O'Toole Church, and I do volunteer there, and I'm a greeter, and I'm on the Brewster Library Board, which is an interesting experience for me. I am the president of our Condo Association board of directors. I'm treasurer of our homeowners association group. I deliver Meals on Wheels. Wow.
And a lot of stuff. Nothing as heavily as SCORE, but I try and help where I can. And a lot of my other volunteer work comes through the auspices of my wife, who is a similar-minded person, and she is involved in a whole bunch of things and says, we could use some help.
What is her first name?
Elaine.
So the George and Elaine Joyner show is great. George, we are indeed fortunate to have you with us today. I mean, this SCORE organization, if anybody in our audience doesn't know about SCORE, we're hopeful that they now do. And
I hope
we
so,
look
too.
forward to having you back, and we look forward to generating some some mentors for you.
Yeah, certainly.
I love that.
Continuing to spread the word. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for coming and joining us today.
And thank you
Yeah.
very, very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. It was great chatting with you guys.
George, great. Thank you so much.
There you go, George.
Okay.
You're
Be well.
a good guest.